Welcome. It is Sunday night in Southern California, and the weather is wanting to almost be summery, and then the clouds decide to come in just a little bit. We started this thing several weeks ago where we would have these discussions from my house, because I've learned in life that three ways that we can educate ourselves is, number one, through conversation. Secondly, observation. And then the third is through education. And so we've been having conversations that are bringing change. And little did I know that it would actually turn into a bit of a movement. Because at first I thought, well, maybe I'm going to do it 1 week. And we had just amazing guests, from Tom Bilyeu to Joe Marion to Randy Jackson, Sherry Shepard. And then we decided to do the next week and had phenomenal guests again, and then reached out to more friends, and they said, you know what, Tim, I will do it. So guys, we're on to something. We have a limited crew, but we have a lot of smart people behind us. I'd like to thank Diane Hudson, formerly the executive producer of the Oprah Winfrey Show, who is helping to produce this show from her home in Miami. So that's kind of cool, right? But because of the quarantine, we have only so many people in my house, but yet we're able to reach people all over the world. So we are in a pandemic. We call it COVID-19. It's an interesting thing because not only is it touching the city that I live in or the city you live in, but it's actually affecting the world. From time to time when I would travel to various countries, you would see large groups of people that would wear masks. And so I would just think about it. But now to even go through a Starbucks drive-through and you are wearing a mask and they are wearing a mask, and no matter where you go, everyone's wearing a mask, it's a different time. But I'm of the belief that somehow, some way, we're still going to get through this. And part of these conversations are talking to people that have gone through adversity, through challenges, through setbacks, and found their way through. So my first guest is a friend, and before he even comes on, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who he is, even though you know him. So Lewis Howes is a New York Times best-selling author, and his book, The School of Greatness, wow, that helped all of us to understand the principles of what it takes, not just to become great, but to stay great. And then I loved his vulnerable testimony in The Mask of Masculinity, and to see him just explode everywhere and to be on so many shows, and to see him on Ellen brought me great delight that I probably watched it about 11 times. Good Morning America, The Today Show, New York Times, People Magazine, Forbes, Fast Company, ESPN, Sports Illustrated. So in my opinion, I'll say this before his face pops up on the screen, Lewis is a pioneer of our time, a trailblazer. I've seen it in other things. I've seen it in the realms of fashion. I've seen it in the area of music, anywhere from country music to hip hop. But I think as an influencer, Lewis Howes is truly the best at what he does. So let's welcome Lewis Howes.
Hello, hello.
Man, you look good.
Can you hear me?
Did you hear my big introduction about you?
I did. Thank you, man. You are very kind.
But really, it's the truth. And my space, as you know, is I came up through the religious world, and in the early days, we had these guys that would like pack out stadiums. And then later in life, you had guys that you know of, like a T.D. Jakes or a Joel Osteen, and some of the guys that you're now hanging around from time to time. But Lewis, I get to see him come, and it's been so fun watching you that when I first read The School of Greatness, it was before I got a chance to meet you. I thought, number one, what a great idea, because people want to know the traits of the greats.
Right.
And then, with the podcast, you were way ahead of the game. You were a pioneer in your field. But Lewis, I just want to say that, it's one thing to get there. It's another thing to stay there. but to continue to grow. So thank you for taking part of your Sunday night
Thanks, man.
and
Appreciate it.
dialoguing with me.
I appreciate you. Thanks for spreading so much wisdom to the world. We all need it.
So before I start the interview, I want to show you some shoes that you bought me.
Yes.
But not only did you buy them, you had them designed.
Custom, baby.
Okay, because you know I love Disneyland, because I was little chocolate Timmy from Compton, and I went to Disneyland, and you had these custom made for me.
They're good, man. They're good on you.
They're one of a kind.
That's it.
All right, so I'm gonna start with one of your quotes, okay? It says, "Don't let your circumstances hold you back from your dreams. You have the power to overcome anything and become who you envision yourself to be." Okay, so let's break this down. Don't let your circumstances hold you back from your dreams. So what does that mean? Help us out with that.
Well, I think you've been around the block a lot longer than I have, and you've seen a lot more people overcome extreme adversity, and I'm not one to compare who's got harder pain or challenges, adversity, or who grew up in tougher situations. We all have our own challenges, whether it be physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, inner demons, outer demons. We all go through different stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not one to say my pain is less or harder than anyone else's. But as you know, people like Oprah went through challenging times growing up, and look where she is now. Ellen went through ridicule from her sexuality. Look where she is now when it wasn't okay back in the 90s. Tony Robbins broke, had no money, gave his last money away at one point to a young boy for his mother, and started to create abundance financially. There's people who are born without arms and legs, like Nick Vujicic, like Kyle Maynard, who just didn't let it be an excuse. Their circumstance didn't hold them back from their greater self, their greater future for their life. And I think as long as we, don't dwell on the pain so much, don't dwell on the story, the memory, the situation, and instead focus on, okay, this is where I'm at. This is the cards that I've been dealt. Now, what am I going to do about it? How can I make the most? If I don't have arms and legs, what can I do? If I've been raped or sexually abused, okay, that sucks. What can I do? If my parents left me and I've been abandoned and I've gone from, home to home and no one wants me, great. Okay, what can I do? I have no money. I'm broke. Great. What can I do? And I think that's what differentiates people that we admire, we respect, are the ones who have gone through extreme challenges, and in spite of them, they've overcome them. And it makes the journey that much more enjoyable than just saying, okay, everything's handed to me. I've got perfect body, perfect health, perfect life, perfect mental faculties. I have the best relationship to God and my creator. No one's inspired by that journey of, okay, I have it all, it's perfect. We're inspired by those who have some type of challenge that they had to overcome in order to become their greater self. And that's what we're all here to do.
I love that. And as you're saying, we're all wounded healers, and we're all slightly undone. And so
I'm not finished. Are you finished, Tim?
No. And what's wild is, the more we grow, the more we realize we need to grow, right?
Yeah. The more we realize what we don't know. The more
so I like this part of the quote where you say, we have the power to overcome anything and become who you envision yourself to be. Yep. So help me with two things. One, the power, and secondly, this idea of envisioning something.
The more I just was achieving my dreams as a kid, and then into my teens and 20s and early 30s, and I was just like, all I do is visualize who I want to become and visualize my dreams over and over. It's almost like a movie that I create in my mind. I use my imagination to create what I want before it happens. And then I work really hard obsessively to make it happen. I learn the skill, I overcome the fear, whatever the obstacle is, then I go take it on. But it's like I'm playing a movie in my head. And over the last 7 years, as I started to interview all the great minds and doctors and scientists and researchers and neuroscientists, everyone comes back to playing a story in your mind. They might say it in a different way, but the power of visualization. We think what we become. If we think we're poor, we're not enough, we're not deserving of love, we're probably going to attract that. But if we continue to create a story and rewire our brains for a new way of thinking, where we imagine what we want and we do it over and over again, then we start to just go in that direction. I'm not saying we're going to have it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we're going to get closer to it happening. We're going to get closer to that image in our minds. And scientists, researchers, spiritual leaders, they all go back to that visualization of who do you want to become. And the more you visualize the positive, the more you visualize the true image that you want to create for yourself, the true career, business, body, connection to God, source, creator, the more you focus on that movie in your mind, the more it starts to come true. And it may go in different places. It may not be a straight path. In fact, I don't know if anyone's ever been on a straight path to getting to where they want. No. But it will, you'll look back 10 years and say, wow, I'm really glad I did that every single day. And then I took the actions on making it come true every single day as well. And I think that's what you hear a lot of people that you've interviewed and the people that you've coached for years, they spent not just 30 days thinking about what they want to become. They spent 3 years, 10 years, 15 years, and make mistakes along the way, but they're getting closer and closer to their greater self as they do it.
Okay, I love it. So many fans of yours have sent in questions that they want to ask. So one of the things, Louis, that's interesting about being you is that you were the guy that was dreaming the dream. Columbus, Ohio. Been to your hometown. Thank you for letting me speak at your amazing event.
You're amazing.
And now to then walk into places with you and see how many people like pay attention to you. And, you know, we even run into each other at different places. We were at the airport, we ran into each other, but I noticed there was a lot of people staring at you, people coming up to you. What's that like to go from being like the kid in Ohio, dreaming the dream, and then now people that we look up to, like even the late, great Kobe Bryant, you know, like paying attention to you and listening to your words. What's that like?
I think it was weird at first, you know, when it started happening years ago. And now I'm just really grateful that the little kid who didn't really believe in himself spent 30 years of working to improve and making a lot of mistakes and still learning and making mistakes. And knowing that, man, you can truly transform your entire life. You can truly transform your mental capabilities, your spiritual capabilities, your physical capabilities with time. And with enough time, you can do pretty much anything you dream of. And I never had any friends, Tim. So for me, as like a 5, 7, 10-year-old, I really didn't start having friends till I was about 13. So my athletic abilities started to shine from all the years of hard work, and I didn't look like this goofy kid anymore. And so for me to have people come up to me and say, wow, the things you said really made an impact. When I was a kid, I never could stand in front of a classroom and say anything meaningful without stuttering. It shows me that, like, hey, okay, you can bring something full circle if you work really hard at it. And if you humble yourself, and if you have tutoring constantly and find the right mentors and coaches. And so for me, I'm just really grateful when it happens, because I'm like, wow, I'm glad I'm on living a life with a mission to impact people, to serve people, to support people, to inspire, whatever it may be that they need. I want to help as many people as possible. So I'm just very grateful.
And you are. I watch that. And I think that, we can go from being tolerated to being celebrated. But what I watch with you is that you just don't get into the celebration like for yourself. You are a guy that's like pushing all of us. You've done things for me. I see how you even push Grant Cardone, who just sent me a text an hour ago. You're
amazing in our documentary. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. And
well, I think I appreciate you saying that. I think for me, the celebration, I celebrate every day. I celebrate every day with my girlfriend. We talk about what we're grateful for, what things happen during the day that were inspiring for us, that we appreciate about ourselves, about our careers, about our dreams. We talk about gratitude. So for me, a celebration is really a celebration of life, as opposed to look at me celebrating my accomplishments. It's more reflection and saying, I'm just really grateful that we had these amazing moments today, because as you know, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how healthy you are, how protected you are, it can be gone in a moment. You've seen a lot of your friends over the years,
Yes.
a lot of celebrities, a lot of high achievers pass away. And it doesn't matter. Like, yes, we should be working towards a
Yeah.
greater future, but reflecting and celebrating every day with what we have created that day. And if that means, you know what, I slept all day and I took care of myself and relaxed and, was good to my girlfriend and took a walk with my dog, maybe that's what you need that day, and that's okay as well. So just appreciating how I show up every day and celebrating those wins for me is something important. But I'm also always trying to shine a light on other people like you do. I want to promote people that I am inspired by. I want to interview people and get their message out there. And, it's twofold. I get to learn. It's a selfish reason. I get to learn, I get to connect, and I get to share. And I think
Yes. Well said. Okay. Tell me about the difference between recovery in your life and discovery. And let me break that down for a second. Like for me, with my father passing at age 10 and then being raised lower income, there's been a lot that I had to recover from.
Mm.
And I found that if you're not careful, you can find yourself just staying in the recovery zone.
Yeah.
And so I was in the recovery zone, Louis, a lot. And then the discovery started happening. Like I had this gift to communicate. They gave me a microphone and they're like, he's good.
Sure.
But I was good, but I was like so unfinished. I was not like ready for the big time yet.
Yeah.
And so I see with you that you go through recovery, but yet at the same time, you go through discovery at the same time. Because 1 minute you're like in the ice with people in some country, or you're like playing handball with the Olympics, or hanging out with your girlfriend. And so somehow you found this balance, and we do need help with this, because some people usually either go all recovery or all discovery. Help us out.
I don't know what it is. I think I'm just, as an athlete, you're always taking action. You're practicing what you learn.
Yeah.
So the coach you'll go to a basketball camp in the summer and they'll teach you some drills. And then you go play a game and they say, I want you to practice this and implement it in the game. An hour after you do the workshop drills.
Yeah.
So it's, okay, let me learn something new and then let me act on it and try it in a practical setting in a game and see if it works. Okay, now let me watch game film and see where I made mistakes and learn how to not make that mistake again. But I need to make the mistakes to learn. Okay, so let me go back, and the next day we review it and then we try a new drill. I want you to learn this move. I want you to shoot this way. I want you to try this way. So my life in sports has always been discover and then implement, and then recover based on the game film, reflecting on what you did wrong. And I've just kind of done that in my life. Since sports, I translated that into personal life, where I was just like, wow, okay. When I talk about the mask of masculinity is about, when I turned 30, I kind of had all these achievements, but I was unhappy still inside. And I was like, let me discover why this is. And I started doing workshops. I started going to emotional intelligence. I started seeking out spiritual leaders, everything. I think I talked to you probably around that time too.
Yes.
And I went through an experience that got me to finally discover that, wow, okay, sexual trauma from my childhood was really something that impacted me, that I was unwilling to address for 30 years. So now it's a recovery, grieving phase, but I'm also still implementing what I'm learning. I'm practicing it. Okay, I need to write a letter and forgive the person that did this. Even I'm not saying it's okay, but I need to forgive. Otherwise, it still has power over my heart. I need to forgive myself for holding on to this and hurting people over the years. I need to start to have conversations with my family and heal. And that took, 6 months of deep work of recovery from just getting started. I feel like I'm still in recovery phase, even though I feel complete peace. I think I'll always be recovering. It just doesn't affect me as much, and it just doesn't hurt me as bad anymore.
You just said the word that I was going to take you to next. What I sense in you is just a peace. When we met recently in LA at this little place we go to, man, you just have a peace about you. And that doesn't mean for all of us, those that are watching us, that we have it all together.
No.
But you could have an inward peace when there's outward turmoil. Isn't that wild?
I haven't felt this much peace in a long time. And I think, I think just time experience, I remember, I feel like 2008 was like yesterday for me, because I was just on my sister's couch. I just got done finishing a dream of playing arena football, trying to make the NFL, getting paid to do something I loved. And I went through a really tough, but also powerful time for 2 years while I was discovering who I am. I'm recovering from an injury. I'm discovering new skills and tools. I'm overcoming fears, and I'm implementing things into action. And I look back and I'm like, wow, if I could get through 2008 with nothing, no money, embarrassed on my sister's couch, no college degree yet, no skills, no job, then I just feel at peace because I have that experience now. I've also been through lots of tough relationship breakups in the last 10 years, to be honest. I don't think I've had one good breakup in a relationship in 10 years. Maybe one that was semi not painful, but pretty much they were all painful. And the last one for me was not painful in the sense of the relationship ending, was painful in the sense of people making assumptions, or people not communicating with me, or people not coming to me, and believing in gossip and whatever. And I just feel like I've been through so much now that I'm like, if my girlfriend wanted to leave me for other reason, I'm at peace. If my business falls apart, I'm at peace. If, I can't go outside for 3 years, I'm at peace. I just feel that way because I've gone through a lot of experience with pain.
That's super powerful. And just to tell you, from being around older Titans, that's something that usually doesn't happen to guys until like their 70s. If I was talking to like a Lee Iacocca or a Jack Lemmon or Walter Matthau, a lot of them said in their early years, they weren't like this. They wanted, people to like them, et cetera. But I think, Louis, again, part of it is that you've been willing to do the work. And then you've also been smart enough not to constantly try to defend yourself. And I feel like you stayed to what you knew. And if you felt like you were wrong, you were man enough to just say, hey, boom, I was wrong.
Made a mistake. I got to learn from it, and I'm going to do better next time. And here's my commitment moving forward. So I'm going to make a lot of mistakes the rest of my life. And I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with people criticizing me and judging me. You asked me 7 years ago, would I be okay with it? No, I wanted to defend everything. And being in a defensive mode is just a lack of peace and a lack of security with yourself. And I think,
but it's interesting you're saying this, because in my mind, if this was the NBA, you're one of the top 3 players. So,
I appreciate
so it's funny, like if 3 of the top players were talking and they're talking about their weaknesses, Louis Howes is definitely one of the top 3 players if we were all in the NBA. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. I want to find out, number one, how you became such a good dancer. Not only a good dancer, but a confident dancer.
Have you seen me salsa dance at a club?
Yes, I have.
I think, again, if I go back to my childhood days, I was just very insecure of so many things and unsure of myself and lacked confidence. And so I remember my teens and my early 20s, I gained confidence through sports because I started to become very good. I was one of the best in my schools, all state, all whatever, And so that was my identity. And then when my identity was shattered through an injury, I was like, well, there goes my confidence, because my whole life and what everyone look at me as is this athlete who's successful and they can rely on and be inspired by. But if you can no longer do the thing that you're good at, then who are you? So I had this identity crisis at 22, 23. And this is when I was on my sister's couch for a year and a half. And I was just like, what am I going to do with my life if my whole identity is wrapped around being a successful athlete and I can no longer play that card anymore? And I just have this fake confidence, this ego that I'm trying to project that's acting confident, but really I'm a scared little boy inside. And I got humbled quickly. And I think humility is powerful because
it is,
if we use it in the right way. And I just said, okay, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired all the time. What are the things that I'm most afraid of? I'm most afraid of standing in front of a room and speaking out loud with no one else talking, with everyone staring at me, public speaking, because getting up in front of my classmates was the most terrifying thing, and reading aloud. So I found a mentor, someone that I respected, who was a public speaker, getting paid to public speak. And I asked him, what do I need to do to overcome this fear? And he said, you need to join Toastmasters.
Wow.
And you need to go every week until you no longer have that fear. And I went every week to Toastmasters, which is a public speaking class, and paid $60, I think, for the year. And I went every week, and I filmed my speeches, and I watched them return, and it was embarrassing. The first 5 to 7 speeches I did, I was just like, I'm horrible, I'm cringeworthy, this is bad. But I just learned through the mistakes. I said, okay, let me try this next time. I did that. I also did salsa dancing because I was mesmerized. I used to live after my sister's place. I lived above a jazz club that had salsa dancing, and I would go down there once a week and watch the salsa dancers. And I remember being so intimidated just by going down and watching. I was just like, I'm in the wrong place. I'm the only white guy here. Everyone's Latino, and I'm in the wrong place. Everyone is so confident. They can move their bodies. They have so much command. And I couldn't even put my foot on the dance floor just to step on it. I was so scared. And so I just started to really reflect on all the things that intimidated me. And I said, I have the time right now. I'm on my sister's couch. I'm like, got no money. I'm broke. Let me dive into this. I remember I was truck driving for a number of months. I would go 6 hours a day as a truck driver, make $250 a week, 6 hours a day, driving car parts from Columbus to Cincinnati, Ohio, and back.
Wow.
And I had a CD that I played with the greatest hits of salsa songs. And I would put in the CD, and I would literally do what I talked about in the beginning of this, which is I would just visualize myself being a great salsa dancer, doing the moves. And I would watch YouTube tutorials at night. I would practice at the club. I joined group classes, private classes, and I did that for a year until I could go anywhere in the world at any club and go ask the best dancer right away without even knowing who they were, and find the best dancer and walk right up to them and ask them to dance. When I got to that level, I was just like, okay, I've overcome the fear that's been crippling me. And every time I found a fear that crippled me, I just said, I'm going to go all in on this until I'm not afraid anymore. And every time I took the action on it, it empowered me to have more confidence. And that's what I tell everyone. If you feel a lack of confidence, write a list of all your biggest fears and then go conquer them one at a time.
This is one of my favorite stories you've ever told me. No, because I could picture you like seeing the people salsa dance.
Yeah.
And then just saying, that's not me. I don't have it.
No, I'm a white guy. I don't belong in this culture. I can't dance. I was never taught to dance. Every excuse. I'm the tallest guy there. I stood out like a sore thumb. Everyone's a foot shorter than me.
For those that do not know how tall you are, tell them how tall you are.
I'm 6'4". I'm not that tall, but it's like I'm 6'4", and I'm taller than most people. But it's, you got to put yourself in extremely uncomfortable situations in order to eliminate self-doubt. That's the only way. No one can give you confidence. It doesn't matter how everyone in the world says, we believe in you, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're talented. It doesn't matter until you believe it. And that's a gift though, because the whole world can believe in you. And if you don't believe, then you're not going to achieve what you want. And the opposite, the whole world can be against you and not believe in you, but it doesn't matter what they think. If you believe, you can take on any challenge if you build that belief through overcoming the fear. But it's just about implementation. Yeah. So
good. Okay. 2 more questions. One, what was it like the first time you were interviewed by Ellen? Because we look up people and it can be so surreal, but what was it like?
It was surreal because I keep telling the story, but on my sister's couch, I would watch Ellen. And I just remember thinking, like, wouldn't it be amazing to do something worthy of being on Ellen one day? Like, I'm not a big A-list actor. I'm not going to be an actor. That's not my goal. But what if I could create something in the world that had an impact that she would want to have me on? And so I think it was like an 8-year difference when I remember dreaming that and then it happening. And it was just weird because I was just like, wow, this is really weird. And I told her that story when I went on there. I was just like, 8 years ago, I used to dreaming about coming on here and dancing with you. And we just made it happen. So thank you for bringing that full circle.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think the more full circle moments you can create, the more confident you become as well. So like, keep going after your dreams, even if it may be some silly little dream of like getting on a show or doing this or whatever it may be. I'm not saying it's silly to get on Ellen, but something like that. Like, just close the loop in your mind of like making that happen. It may be a year dream, it may be 10 years, 20 years, but the more you close the loop on dreams, the more you manifest bigger and bigger dreams.
Love it. Talking to my friend, D. Lewis House. Lewis, last question. How can we connect with you and what's next? Because you have the documentary. You released it for a while for all of us to watch. I got to go to the premiere, which was awesome. You also have the Summit of Greatness that is scheduled in September. What are you doing with that? I see all the other courses and classes and ways you could teach. A lot of people are going to watch this over the next week. Tell us how we can connect you on these different.
You can just go to lewishouse.com and follow me on social media or the School of Greatness, and we'll keep you updated with everything there. So
that was a laid back answer.
Well, I think we're just trying to serve people, and they can follow me anywhere. And if you're interested in something, check it out. And if not, then don't worry.
Okay, for the conclusion, if you were giving a 2 to 3 minute speech about people being quarantined and how they can make the best of this situation, take us out with a little bit of a talk.
I think wherever you're at in your life right now, it's okay to feel any type of feelings you have: uncertainty, fear, and worry. It's okay to feel it. It's just not okay to stay there, because staying there is not going to support you, and it's doing a disservice to the people around you, your friends, your family. If you have 20 followers or 20 million followers. So feel the feelings you need to feel. Feel worry, stress, anxiety, grief, pain, loss, whatever the feelings are, feel them. Don't bottle up feelings. Feel them and express them when you need to. Write it down, journal it, talk to friends, all those things. And then I want you to write a list of the 3 biggest fears you have right now, the 3 biggest fears that you have not conquered in your life. I don't care if you're 10 or if you're 50, whatever your fears are, write them down. This is going to be the thing that is going to be the most important thing you focus on, in my opinion, over the next year to 2 years. Because if you're feeling stressed and anxious and worried right now from the uncertainty of what's going to happen, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just don't want you to be there in the future when something like this happens again, because probably in the next decade to 2 decades, something like this, where there's uncertainty, there's fear, there's worry in the world, will happen. We don't know if it's going to be a virus or something else. And I don't want that to have power over you. You're definitely going to feel feelings and worry and uncertainty no matter what, but I don't want it to control you throughout the duration of it. I want you to be prepared. And I want your I want you to be set up for the next time this happens. And so right now I'm thinking about, what are the fears that I still have? What do I need to take on? How can I create a game plan for myself so that I feel more safe and protected in the future when something like this happens? I'm not bulletproof. I'm not perfect. I have fears and concerns and worries as well at times, but I feel more at peace through this chaos than I've ever felt. Probably more than a time where there isn't this happening. I feel more peace through this, and I want you to feel at peace in times like this. And the only way you do that is to truly start to take on your fears one at a time so they don't have power over you. And when you start to do that, you'll start to have more belief that you can overcome anything in the future, whether it's a financial heartache, a physical heartache, a relationship heartache. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy, but you'll be much more prepared in the future. So write down your fears and start taking action on them one at a time.
Wow. that was phenomenal. I'm glad we taped that.
Yeah.
Lewis, thanks for spending part of your Sunday night. And it's
Brother.
a privilege to be your brother and your friend. And I look forward to continue to do humanitarian things with you, and let's continue to heal this world.
Let's do it, Tim. Appreciate you, man.
God bless you. Have a great day.
Brother.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Lewis House. Wow. So many takeaways. And just what he's talking about being in the moment, fully present, fully feeling, fully alive. I was very, very touched by that. And just talking about, this is a challenge we're all going through, but there's going to be new challenges that come in life. And we got to find a way to somehow, some way, get through those challenges. Before I bring up my next guest, I want to talk to you about something I'm doing tomorrow night. It's called the World Shakers Network. And the reason for that is that there's only one of me. And when I was speaking a lot, when I was speaking all the time, we would get over 1,000 invitations a year, upwards to like 1,700 invitations a year. And as many of you know, I've been to 75 countries of the world, but some of those countries I've been to over 50 times, ranging from crowds of 7 people to 80,000 people. And when I got into life coaching in the early 90s, it started with the NFL, then it moved on to entertainers in Beverly Hills in the early 90s. And, back in those days, you'd have to go meet at Nate and Al's in Beverly or talk to people that way. But now, through the power of how you're watching me now, I Zoom and I coach people. The challenge with that is there's only one of me, and we have a very long line because of my style of coaching and the fact that, to be honest with you, I get results. I'm not good at everything. I'm not a great cook. I'm not a great dancer. As good as Lewis, I'm good. But I am very good at coaching people. And so we have this World Shakers Network, and the idea is to meet every Monday night. Could you imagine? Every Monday night, and dialogue about what it takes for your dreams to become a reality. I've invested about $70,000 into what I teach on those Monday nights. And a lot of that is by paying some of the best psychologists, some of the best minds, researchers to compile 1,300 pages of information where every single week we deal with a different topic and then we discuss it. Man, if I was able to be in the room with, let's say, a Winston Churchill while he was alive, I would have liked to heard what the guy had to say. And if I was to be able in the room with the Richard Branson, of course, you want to know what he has to say. And for us to come together every Monday night and dialogue about dreams, to be a world shaker. And to me, to be a world shaker is to make impact in any part of your world. So if you believe that you want to be a world shaker, and if you believe you are a world shaker, I want you to join. And we've made it overly affordable. And the prices that people brought to me were all high, like make it this price because then people will appreciate it. But we made it overly affordable. It's only $47 per month. So that's like life coaching with me for just over $10 a week. So it is me live, and it's a network of people, and we'll have so many people that will be part of this program, and I break it up into groups. And the response that I got from last week, which was week 1, was mind-boggling. They were like, is this really happening? One person said, I feel like I had to pinch myself. But could you imagine where you'll be in 12 months working with me every Monday night? Is it worth your $47? I would say so. Invest in yourself. Maybe you have a daughter, a son, a nephew, a grandchild that needs this kind of connection. It's a community. Have them join. But don't hold back. Make sure you do it. And for signing up tonight, I'm going to give you this book called Utmost Living that did very, very well for me. This was with Random House, and Lee Iacocca. He endorsed it. The Smokey Robinson endorsed it. And this book has gone all over the world. It's in many, many languages. And it talks about going from almost to most to almost. So when you sign up for the World Shakers Network right now. And through the next couple days, we're going to give you this book for absolutely free. But sign up tonight so you can be in tomorrow night's group. All right? With me, my next guest that I'm so excited about is a dear, dear friend that is one of the most special people that I know. This man is, he's an entrepreneur. He is a humanitarian. And Larry King, who is his great friend, says that he is one of the best motivational speakers in the country, and he is right. But I want to add to Larry King, he's one of the best motivational speakers in the world. And he wrote a best-selling book about being nice, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. He is also part of the whole Paul Mitchell family, and he is a leader of leaders within the Paul Mitchell schools, Paul Mitchell platforms. And as he's on the screen now, I just want to say that this gentleman is one of the most generous people I've ever met in my life. A lot of places that I get to speak, I'll say, how'd you find out about me? And they say, Winn Claybaugh. And Winn, I love you, man. It's like my brother is right across from me. Good to see you.
Thanks, Tim. I love you too. For me to be a part of this really is, I have a feeling that you didn't really invite me to be a part of this. I think I invited myself, Tim.
Well, actually what it was is that you were on my wish list because I wanted to talk to you about humanitarian work. And then a lot of people, when we told them that you were going to be on, they started coming to me with different questions to ask you because you're very, very good at business as well. And first, before we get into a few questions I have of you, Lewis Howes said some really good things, didn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I really like when he was talking at the very beginning about mentors, people who have maybe born without any limbs and yet what they had to overcome, people who have been through addictions or rape or whatever, and yet they were able to overcome that. And that's always inspired me. I'm always looking for mentors like that because I'm not a big reader. I wrote a book, but I don't read. There you go. I'm not a big reader, and how I've always gained my knowledge, my information, my experiences by talking to mentors. I've always hunt down mentors. I think I hunt you down. That's how I was connected to you. I'm always asking around, and somebody said the name Tim Storey, and you better believe I was writing you until we finally connected.
Yes. So thank you for taking the time tonight to help us to help people. So I want to ask you a couple questions because you understand what it's like to have setbacks in your life. So this idea of setback to comeback. Why did you refuse to sit in your setbacks? Tell us why.
Because through grace or for whatever you want to, however you want to explain that, I always knew that I was meant for something better than what I was experiencing.
Yes.
I knew that for some reason, I always knew that I had power, I had influence, and the circle of friends that I had, what I was currently projecting was not going to be very, very powerful for them. Mm-hmm. So I knew that people were going to follow me down the wrong path if I didn't change my ways. So it wasn't just solely for me. I knew that I had a calling and that I needed to clean up my life.
Yeah. And so when you realized you had to clean up your life, because number one, you have to become awake. And then number two, you have to take inventory. So when you took inventory and you said, this is not the real Winn Claybaugh, then what kind of partners did you reach out to? Because you have to reach out to people that are stronger than you, right?
Oh, absolutely. And how I broke that down, which can actually be applied to almost anything that you want to work on in life. For me, it was a drug addiction. I've been clean for 18 years, but I could apply this formula to anything that we want in life. Two things. Number one, you have to get a mentor. And the second thing is to find people who want to play with you. And I like to put it that way. But to get that mentor, there are people out there who have led the way for us. Experience is a great teacher, but the value of those lessons that we learn through firsthand experience diminishes in the time that it takes to have the experience. See, wise people learn from other people's experiences. You know, you don't have to become an alcoholic or a drug addict to learn the lessons that a recovering addict could teach you. I remember actually a good friend of ours, Tim, told me that she was 10 years sober, but only 2 years into recovery. What I got from that was, even though she wasn't drinking, even though she wasn't using, she wasn't doing the work. And so we have work to do whenever we're trying to overcome anything or trying to achieve anything in life. We need those mentors, those people that lead the way for us. And by the way, be careful who you choose as a mentor, because sometimes you ask for relationship advice from your friend who's been divorced 3 times and now she hates men. That's not a mentor. So always find those mentors. You know, I've been doing podcasts for over 22 years. Every single month, I put out a new interview, and that's how you and I came to be. I hunted you down, and I've interviewed you twice, I think, so far.
Yes.
So I always on the hunt for great mentors, people who can lead the way. But again, the second step is to find people who want to play with you.
Yes.
Again, I like to put it that way, because we're not on this journey alone. How I look at that, or an easy way to describe that, is going to the gym. You know, I don't really naturally enjoy going to the gym, but I need to go. And so I'm always recruiting people to go with me. So I always say, do you want to go to the gym with somebody in better shape or worse shape than you? Yes. And the answer is better. That's the mentor, you know, because worse shape, that's not going to motivate you, right? So find that better mentor. And then the second step, people who want to play with you. I'm always recruiting people to go to the gym with me, because the more the merrier. If I go by myself, I get bored easy. I leave early. So no matter what it is that I do in life, always on that journey, I always want people to play with me. I always want people to go on that journey along with me.
Yes. So what I'd like to do with you today is, I want to do a little preview with you first, just so people can see what we're talking about. And if you don't mind, based on a text that you sent me, that you felt like you had something very strong for the end of the show.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm going to slip Christina Anstead in now, and I'm going to have about a 20, 25-minute talk with her. And then I want you to help me finish this up, because there's a plethora of questions to you, and, you know, you feel like life has put something on your heart. And I think that, you know, life has lifted you up as a humanitarian, and you can help us walk through things. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's based on your text, because I trust you on that level. So that's Winn Claybaugh. I'm going to bring on Christina Anstead here in just a moment. Joseph, just tell me when she's ready, and then Winn, just hold on. So Christina Anstead, as she is coming on, I'm going to tell you, wow. So proud of her. Many of you obviously have seen her on the show Flip or Flop, and then her other show, Christina on the Coast, which is doing very, very well. She has a new book, The Wellness Remodel, also with her friend Cara Clark. And that book was just released recently and is doing extremely, extremely well. And when I first met Christina, she just had 2 children. And now she has more. So I want to talk to her about all things life. Let's welcome Christina Anstead.
Christina, you're up.
I love live TV. So as Christina is coming up, I want you to know that you can get her book, The Wellness Remodel, and we'll give you all the information about that. Christina, look at you. You look amazing.
Oh, God. Scary. Okay.
So this is kind of a cool thing. So Christina, about 5 weeks ago, I was sitting on my couch, and I thought, I want to do like an inspirational show, help people turn their setbacks to comebacks, and then just ask some of my friends questions, right? And so we've been averaging 150,000 viewers for these little chats. And so you're my friend, so thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Okay. All right. So one of the questions that I had for you, and I know you have just so much time today, is that when you were a little girl, younger, and you dreamt about doing something big, where did you get this determination that I see in you? There's like this determination that whether you are doing archery against your husband and Anstead or going at him one-on-one in basketball, where does this determination come from?
I think some of it I've always just had. You probably have the same thing. It's just like I was just born that way. But the other part is from my dad. He was crazy as far as like fanatically how you should be, how you should play sports. Like when I was growing up, other kids were playing outside and I had to wake up at 7 a.m. and go train at basketball all day long in Newport, and I lived in Anaheim Hills.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing. But so yeah, I think just like innate and then also parents.
Okay, so innate and then your parents. And then this, I like to teach on the uncommon life. So uncommon is not normal, not regular. Another thing that I have in my notes is that you have this uncommon discipline, which you really have to have right about now, right? With 2 shows and a lot of
Homeschool?
children.
Yeah. 800 kids in homeschool? Yeah.
Yes. So tell me about this uncommon discipline, about how it's working for you and how you stick with it.
I think, well, actually, I feel like normally I'm more of a perfectionist and I love to go to work. So actually being home is sort of challenging.
Yeah.
And I sort of have to let discipline slide a little bit. It's like kind of the opposite. Like we don't really have a schedule right now. And when the kids are upset, I have to just be more understanding, more caring, because everyone's going through a hard time right now. So I think that's just sort of my nurturing side is coming out as opposed to like work mode Christina versus mom Christina. Like I feel like being home the past month and a half has just made me more like understanding and caring.
Okay, so for all the mothers that are watching you and they're juggling things like you're juggling things right now, okay? So it's okay to feel undone, right? It's okay to just like not have a good day. That's just part of life.
I had that this morning, like everything went wrong and I was losing my mind. So I just said, Aunt, I need to disappear for an hour. I need to go for a run. I'm like losing my stuff here.
Yeah.
So here's baby, I'm out. And I went for a run and I felt so much better after.
Yes. Okay, so talk to me about the wellness remodel, because I remember in the early days when you were even working on this book and it took a while and then you guys did it. Now it's out, it's doing well. Tell us what the book is about.
So my friend Kara, I don't think you've had the pleasure to meet her yet. At the wedding, at our baby.
I see you with her. I've not met her.
So she's been my nutritionist since 2013. And you know how it is, like being on TV, people never ask me like, hey, what paint color was that on that episode of Flip or Flop, or where are those cabinets from? It's always, what do you eat in a day? What's your exercise routine? Those are the kind of questions I was getting. So one day I just like, during yoga, kept getting this thought, like you should write a book with Kara. And so I called her on my way home, because you know how I am. I'm like, hey, you want to write a book? And she's like, okay. So, there we are.
Okay. So some things in life you decide and some things you discover. Okay. Are you more of the decide person or more of it just kind of just comes and you discover it? Which side do you lean on?
My brain is constantly going is sort of a problem. And I get so many ideas throughout the day, but I don't jump on all of them. Instead, I think about it and then I kind of just give the idea to God. And I'm like, okay, this is my idea right now. If this is a good idea, then let the doors open. If this idea is not good, then shut the doors. And that's kind of what I've done for years.
Yes.
That's sort of how I roll with that.
So let's talk about the awakening of your spirituality. I mean, you've been into God since you were a kid, but it seems like there's been more of an awakening. What that brought that about? And I heard you go and see a pretty good teacher every once in a while.
Yes, miss you. I did not grow up religious at all. I only went to church for baptisms. So I didn't become really religious until my divorce. And I just needed help and I was feeling very lost. So I started going to church with the kids and it felt like every week there was such a strong message that I could just completely relate to. And then I just got hooked. And then I met you after, and then I started going to yours, and your motivational messages just really helped me out when I was in really tough times.
Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to ask you 2 more questions so you can get back to life. this idea of being independent, because you're very independent. And then you guys decide to have this wedding where you like shocked us all. So, and what I mean by that is they did a surprise wedding. Is that correct?
Correct. You were there.
And hardly anybody knew. I was there because I performed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You knew about it a little in advance.
Yeah. So things shifted for you so fast. So, because you already had the one show,
Yeah.
and then, Christina on the Coast was there too, and is growing. And then Ann Anstead, who is phenomenal. So I got to tell you one thing about Ann that's cute. So I was in the South, and this lady said, I saw in People magazine that you know Christina Anstead. I said, yep. And she goes, woo, I love that Ann Anstead. She goes, I'm going to get me an Ann Anstead.
Yep. It's imported from England.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so from being independent to then getting married, blended family, right?
Yep.
Give me one or two adjustments you've had to make. And the reason I say that is because everybody's making adjustments right now.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
People are being laid off.
Yeah.
People need to find new jobs.
Yep.
How did you find your way with these adjustments?
I think I'm still kind of learning. As when you're independent, it makes you, I guess, slightly like just used to doing things for yourself.
Okay.
And not so much having to worry about other people. And I kind of was like that for a few years. So I think that's remembering that there's a lot of compromise, especially right now during times of stress. It's compassion as well.
Yeah.
And just patience.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question that came in for you, because I asked people what they wanted to ask you, is that what are you saying to your children to keep them positive in these negative times? Like, what are you saying?
I know, Taylor, we try to be really positive over here, but of course kids overhear things, and sometimes at night she'll just start crying and say, oh my God, I'm so worried that one of us is going to get it, or that I'm so worried about grandma and grandpa. And I just tell her that let's, at night, because this is when we're going over, and I feel like that's when she gets most scared. Okay, let's do a prayer together. Let's just give it to God. And then I also tell her, let's do 3 things that we're really grateful for right now. So
nice. I like that.
On the negative, let's switch it to the positive. So then we go over 3 things we're grateful for, and that's how I leave it. And
yes,
we leave it on a positive note. And then kids, they're pretty simple. So they want their routine and they want to feel safe.
Yes. Christina Anstead, thank you for taking time on a Sunday night. Don't forget, when we're not quarantined, you guys have invited me for dinner.
I know. Yes, please.
Are you cooking though?
Oh my God, Tim, I'm a good cook now.
No, I know, that shocks me.
I know, me too. Yeah, weird. I became a good cook in quarantine. I forgot. I made chicken tortilla soup from scratch tonight.
I love it.
I know. Who knew?
Okay. I love you guys. We're friends. Thanks for coming in on a Sunday night. We're going to talk more about you when you get off.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Okay. So that's Christina Anstead. Man, she's doing well. Flip or Flop, what a popular show. It's funny to go to different countries, and I see her voice being dubbed into different voices. She comes to our church, her and her husband, Ann Anstead, and their children. And I'm just so proud of both of them. And so we are putting up all the information for Christina and how you can find out more about her and how you can get her book. I think that's super, super important to get that book, because I think it's going to help your life. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the situation that we're in before I bring Winn Claybaugh back. And the reality is that we are in the midst of a crisis. We're in the midst of adversity, amidst of a storm. I've spent my life, either going through a storm or getting out of a storm, or going through a storm or getting out of a storm. And you heard Lewis Howes say that. You heard Christina Anstead talk about that. That's just how life is. And there's a scripture in the Bible in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9. And it says this, it says that pity the person who falls and has no one to help them up. And then also pity the person that is cold and has no one to keep them warm. And so I just want to challenge you that no matter what you are going through, that maybe there's somebody going through something worse. So I live in a world that's different than yours, where because I am a life coach, pastor, therapist, I hear a lot of things. And so I hear a lot of good news and I hear a lot of not so good news. So I spend a lot of my time either celebrating with people for their win. It could be a child being born. It could be a new job that they got. But I also spend a lot of time walking with people through their storms. And thank you, Smokey Robinson, who's probably watching tonight, who said that Tim Storey is one of the best at walking people through storms. But one reason I'm good at walking people through storms is because I know what it's like to go through many storms. And I like what Lewis House said. You know, right now it's COVID-19, but 6 months from now, it could be another storm, or a year or 2 years from now, it could be another storm. And so I think that we can learn some disciplines that when other things face us, we say, okay, this is my discipline. This is my pattern. This is even my routine. And one of those things is, if somebody falls, I'm going to try to help them up. If somebody's in a winter season, I'm going to try to keep them warm. And Tim, what do you mean by that? I feel that, you know, sometimes words are not what people need only. Sometimes you need to just show up. On Easter Sunday, I was telling you last week that I went to go see my mother. She's 89. And I could not physically, you know, hug my own 89-year-old mother. And I'm very close to my mom. I'm the youngest of 5 children. So I brought her 2 sets of flowers, laid them on a table. We sat about 10 feet away and we dialogued. And it was a time where we were just keeping each other warm in the midst of a storm. And so there's somebody that you are dealing with right now, somebody that you know, that's going through a storm, and sometimes you pick them up through things you say or things you do, acts of kindness. But other times what you do is you just show up and you keep them warm. So hopefully these Sunday nights are connecting to you. It looks like they are by the number of people that watch. But part of this is to help each other get through the storm. Joseph, what is happening with Winn Claybaugh? Could you please tell me?
He's still trying to get back on. Give him a couple more minutes.
Okay, can you tell me when he's able to come on? Okay, so you got to make sure and tell me so I know. So Winn Claybaugh is working on getting back on. But while that's happening, I want to just talk a little bit more about this idea of coming through the storm, not bitter, but better. And that's one of the questions that I'm going to talk to Winn about. We're going to get into this because I think that I'm seeing a lot of people that are going through this crisis right now. And if they're not careful, their mind will begin to challenge them and they can step into a place of being bitter. And you say, well, Tim, how can we get better through this terrible thing? Well, you can. You can learn more about how to deal with a crisis. Learn more about your attitude. Learn more about the power of words. And I'm gonna help you with a couple tips that will help you to become better as you go through this storm. And one of the things is this: you got to partner with the right people. I have in my notes that you could be the right person with the right plan, but you have to have the right partners. If you're the right person with the right plan, but you don't have the right partners, you got a lot of problems. So the kind of partners that you need, not just in this storm, but just in life, are people with a similar mindset. That doesn't mean that if you went into Baskin Robbins, they'd love the same ice cream as you. But their mindset is similar to you as far as believing that all things are possible, believing that life is still good. So the partners that you're looking for in life have a similar mindset, and they also have similar motives. You know, in the midst of the crisis, you know, you see a lot of people online, and their motives are just different than your motives. They're looking on how to, you know, always get ahead instead of doing what Lewis Howes talked about, and that's lifting somebody up. And so as you're coming through this crisis, really be careful and take inventory of who's in your inner circle. Do they have a similar mindset? Do they have similar motives? Are they people that are truly on your side? Are they people that are truly on your side? And that's one thing about me. I'm very, very friendly, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily let you on the inside. And I've been saying this thing for years. If you don't let people on the inside, they can't really stab you on the backside. So be careful of who you let on your inside, okay? As we wait for Winn Claybaugh, and Joseph, again, just tell me, and if he's not going to be able to get on, that's okay, just tell me. And then, because I only got like probably a minute to figure that out, then I'll put him on next week. All right, so again, I want to tell you about the World Shakers Network. I'm excited about that. Live meeting tomorrow, which is Monday, April 20th, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And this is a great program. We're going to talk about your dreams, and we're going to dialogue about what you feel life has called you to do. We're going to sharpen you. So it's a workshop for World Shakers, and it's only $47 a month. So that's like life coaching with me for just over $10 a week. So it's a weekly Zoom call, and it's one-on-one with me. And then if you sign up this week, you sign up today so you can get on tomorrow, then I'm going to give you this book called Utmost Living. Utmost Living. Whole idea is don't get stuck in an almost life. And so Dog the Bounty Hunter, I think he's watching right now, he endorsed this book. Lee Iacocca, who's now in heaven, my great friend who mentored me in business, and also the Smokey Robinson. Here's what Smokey says: that Tim has a God-given gift to walk people through the best and worst of times. He can help take you from almost to utmost, okay? So make sure and sign up for that program. I really think it'll help your life. So next week, we have an amazing, amazing show. We have already booked the guests. They have been booked already. You're gonna love who is on the show next week. Just really great minds, people that you know and have seen, and just continuing to have conversations that bring change. Conversations that bring change. So tonight, we're going to end this show. I'm going to bring Winn Claybaugh on another time. He was having some technical difficulties. But here's what I want to say to you. I want you to share, share, share because you care. Share, share, share because you care. So the views on the Facebook Live, they always grow, and then they're landing right in about the 150,000 group. And then there's so many groups of people that have given me gigantic email lists to send out the program. And so our numbers are amazing. So much so that I am being called by many people about turning this into a show, and not people who are normal, but people who can make this happen. And we're not going to do that yet because I like this thing from my house and just dialoguing and everything that we're doing. And so stick with us. So this is Tim Storey Live, and we're going to do it again next Sunday night. And our vision is to see your vision come to pass. So I hope you learned some great things today from Lewis Howes, Christina Anstead, and also from my good friend, Winn Claybaugh. Life is good. Keep on keeping on.